We're going to start our next unit on solving equations. One thing that's important to note is that in sixth grade, we solved one-step equations using inverse operations. In seventh grade, we started two-step solving equations. Eighth grade, we started multi-step, so the x was on both sides. And in algebra, we're going to continue that trend, getting a bit more complicated. We're going to have the distributive property, variables on both sides, using multiple steps to go ahead and solve our equations. But first, a quick review on solving one-step and two-step equations. Remember, the point of all solving equations is to isolate the variable on one side of the equation. We prefer that it's positive. We're going to do that by distributing and combining like terms. That's the parentheses portion. Solve using inverse operations. That's the zero pair, adding and subtracting, or reduce to one, which is going to be through multiplying and dividing. We have to keep our equations balanced, so whatever we do to one side, we have to do the other, and then we need to check our work. Briefly looking this over, if we look, we're going to look at problem number 2 real quick. In problem number 2, we have 2 equals negative 3 plus m. In order to get rid of the negative 3m, we have to add 3. That's our inverse operation, making a zero pair. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other to keep our equations balanced. And we get 5 equals m, which makes sense because if we check our work, 2 equals negative 3 plus 5. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2. Sorry, I started writing 5 in there for some reason. We'll go ahead and look at problem number 4. Again, this is just a quick review. In problem number 4, we have negative 5z equals negative 25. Our inverse operation, the opposite of multiplying, is dividing. And whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 reduces that down to 1. So therefore, z equals 25, negative 25 divided by negative 5. So a negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. Which makes sense because if we go to our check, negative 5, parentheses 5, does that equal negative 25? Negative 5 times positive 5, that's going to be negative 25. So that works. When we can, it's always important for us to check our work. It makes us guarantee that these answers are correct. We're going to look at problem number 6. In problem number 6, we have a two-step equation. So the very first thing I want to do, there's no terms that I can combine here because we have x divided by 2, and then we have plus 6 equals negative 20. So in order to deal with this, the first thing I want to get rid of is this adding by 6. In order to do that, I need to make a zero pair. So the opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6. That's going to give me a big old 0. X divided by 2 plus 0 is just x divided by 2. Whatever I do to one side, I have to balance due to the other. So this is negative 6. Negative 20 minus 6. So if I have a 20-foot hole and I dig 6 more feet, that's negative 26. And now I need to do the inverse of dividing by 2, which the inverse is multiplying by 2. Therefore, x equals 26 times 2. First of all, negative times a positive keeps it negative. 26 times 2, well, 25 times 2 is 50. So 26 times 2 is 52. because 6 times 2 is 12. If I went through to check this, because I want to make sure that I get this right, because this is an easy question for me, we got this. Negative 52 divided by 2. Well, I know that that's negative 26. And then if I add 6 to it, I get negative 20, which was my answer from the beginning. So I know that that's correct. Because I did quite a bit of work, I'm going to go ahead and box my answer right here. So that way Mr. Austin knows what my answer is. It's always a good idea to box your answers. The last problem we're going to look at is problem number 8. We have negative 2 in parentheses x plus 4 equals negative 10. The first thing I need to deal with is this parentheses. And the easiest way for me to deal with multiplying everything by negative 2 is if I divide it by negative 2. Because negative 2 divided by negative 2 is just 1. And I get my reducing down to 1 inverse operation. The only thing that's left is x plus 4. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Negative 10 divided by negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now I have to create my 0 pair here, and I need to take the inverse of adding 4. The inverse of adding 4 is subtracting 4, which makes my 0 pair and goes away. And whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 5 minus 4 is 1. And if I want to check this, negative 2, 1 plus 4, that equal negative 10. Let's find out. 1 plus 4 is 5, so negative 2 times 5. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So that works out. And so my answer is x equals 1. That's a quick review of solving 1- and 2-step equations.